Hi everyone, I'm Alyssa and I'm excited to welcome you to tonight's event. I'm here with Chris from the Kamloops Naturalist Club and we are going to be talking about citizen science and how you can participate in the upcoming City Nature Challenge. I have a couple quick announcements before we start. If you can't stay with us for the whole event tonight, that's no problem. After the event is over, a recording will be available on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. If you've joined us on Zoom, your video and microphone will remain off throughout tonight's event. If you are watching through YouTube Live, feel free to type any questions you have into the comment section of the video, and I will be monitoring while our speaker is talking, and I can pass those over to him when he has the chance. If you are on Zoom, you can also type any questions in and to the chat area, and I will pass those along. If you have joined us through Zoom, you are automatically entered to our draw tonight for a door prize. If you are watching on YouTube, please send us an email at questions@tnrd.ca with your name and phone number, and we will add you to the draw. Your email must be received by 7 p.m. to enter. So without further ado, I will turn the presentation over to Chris Torres.
Thanks, Alyssa. I'll start sharing my screen here, get the presentation going. Alrighty, so tonight we will talk about citizen science and you, iNaturalist, and why citizen science is important. So I'll start with a brief overview of citizen science, kind of the ideas behind it. We'll move on to the City Nature Challenge, which is something that the Kamloops Naturalist Club has taken on this year. It'll be the first year that Kamloops is participating. And then we'll move on to a brief tutorial on how to use iNaturalist, which is a really great app for recording your findings in nature. So you don't have to be an expert. You can be a total amateur, and iNaturalist gives you the ability to connect with people, learn from other people, and kind of track your observations in nature. So citizen science, this is a fairly new kind of arm of science that has been empowered a lot by technology. It's essentially a form of simultaneous learning and collaboration between the public and professional scientists. So essentially what's happening here is using technology, folks are able to help scientists basically record observations at a scale that scientists previously really wouldn't be able to achieve. So it's sort of a almost like a crowdsourcing of research material for scientists. Some examples of this in the past that have been really successful, the Penguin Watch here. This is where a webcam was set up in the Arctic in a nesting ground for penguins. People were encouraged to log on, watch the webcam, and basically outline or identify where they were seeing adults, where they were seeing chicks, where they were seeing eggs. And this research essentially helped scientists understand the behaviors of these colonies of emperor penguins. And processing that amount of data, just, the scientists trying to pore over that much data would have been really difficult, but they essentially turned it into a game for people and got citizens involved, and therefore were able to walk away with, a really large amount of data that might not have otherwise been possible. Another really popular one is the Audubon Christmas bird count. This is something that the Kamloops Naturalist Club also participates in every winter. And this is, really valuable data on migratory bird species, and really helps folks that are studying these species get a better understanding of where they're living, what their numbers are, etc. So what we want to talk about tonight is the City Nature Challenge. So this is sort of the culmination of a lot of movements in citizen science. This first started in San Francisco and LA, It started as sort of a competition between the two cities to see who could record the most observations of natural species, both plant and animal, in their city during sort of a 3-day set period. So it's expanded. It's now a 4-day global BioBlitz, where cities are encouraging citizens to go out and document the natural world in the place that they live. So from places as urban as San Francisco or New York to places that are a bit more rural like Kamloops. So it's become a really huge event. 244 cities participated last year. And the findings are really incredible because it's an incredible amount of data that otherwise just really wouldn't have been possible. So the 2020 collective results, there were over 815,000 observations made, 32,000 species identified, 1,300 of which were rare and endangered, and 41,000 people participated globally. So these are just some examples of species that were found or documented through the City Nature Challenge. And many of these are species that had never been cited before in the areas that they were documented, or hadn't been cited in many years, or in fact were newer species to that area. So these were all discovered by just folks who downloaded the iNaturalist app and went out during the BioBlitz and just documented everything that they could. So, you know, this event really actually can produce pretty legitimate and serious scientific results. Recently, during the City Nature Challenge, someone documented the first occurrence in North America of the invasive elm zigzag sawfly. And that species is now being tracked federally in Canada and in the States to try and prevent its spread. So really important discoveries like that can actually happen through this sort of citizen science work. So these are the top cities last year for Canada. So there's only been 3 cities in BC previously. So Surrey was actually pretty high up there, as was Richmond. So we need lots of people to get out for Kamloops this year and give a good showing. Generally in the past, the City Nature Challenge really has played up the kind of competitive spirit between cities. But in light of COVID, it's transitioned to a bit more of a just collaborative celebration of kind of getting outside. You know, this City Nature Challenge is a good opportunity for you to go out with your housing bubble and get outside and experience something. You know, it's social, even though it's sort of virtually social. But it's a good way to at least get out and take part in something a little bit bigger, even during COVID. So as I said before, this data is actually really helping scientists all over the world. It also can really help at a local level. It can really help drive data that are affecting laws and actions being taken in Kamloops. So the more data that we have for scientists and folks at TRU and folks at the municipal level, the more data we have, the better decisions they can make. And it is fun and COVID friendly. So as I mentioned before, it's called a BioBlitz in the sense that it's a concentrated 3-day period in which everyone's encouraged to go out and document as many wild plants and animals as they can. So this year it'll be April 30th through May 3rd. You have the opportunity to go out, document as many species as you can. upload them to iNaturalist. And then May 4th through May 9th is essentially a giant collaborative process of pouring through all of the data that was recorded, collaborating on identification, honing the identification, having discussions, maybe if there are disagreements about identification or anything like that. And then on May 10th, the organizers of the City Nature Challenge will sort of announce the sort of overall results that we saw from the 2021 challenge. And then of course, this data is open for anyone and everyone to use, so it can actually continue to be used down the road. And like I said, influence research, influence municipal law. So it really does make a difference having lots of participants in this challenge. So taking part is super easy. You essentially just need to go out and find wildlife. It can be any plant, animal, or any other evidence of life found in the area. You take a picture. If you have a smartphone, it's even easier because you can download the iNaturalist app to your smartphone and do your whole observation while you're out in the field. But if you prefer to use a regular camera, you can also take photos and upload them to the iNaturalist website, which I will go through. And then you just share those observations through iNaturalist. And that essentially opens up your observation to all the other users of iNaturalist so that they can help verify what you've seen. They can offer suggestions if they disagree with maybe the species you chose, or they can add comments. It's a really great way for people who are passionate about being outside and observing wildlife to kind of connect and share what they've seen. And it's also a great way for you to sort of keep track of what you've seen all in one place. So iNaturalist was an app developed sort of out of the genesis of the City Nature Challenge. It's also developed by the National Geographic Society. It's essentially an app that allows you to record your observations in nature in a really simple, streamlined way, using technology to make sure that the data that you collect, even if you're an amateur, a beginner, you don't have to have a science degree. It helps you record observations that are really complete and can be used by anyone who might need them. So this is what the iNaturalist website will look like when you log on. It's very simple, very cleanly laid out. It's really easy to use, but essentially you'll have a feed. Once you make an account, it will be based on your location. So it will show you kind of the most recent observations that folks have made. You can click into all of those observations. You can back up what they've seen and say, yeah, I agree with you, that was a European starling. You can also go into a map view, which is really great, and sort of scroll around the area and see what people have seen and where they've seen it. So getting started, visit inaturalist.org or download the app from the App Store or Google Play. Signing in is super easy. They don't ask for a lot of information. You basically just need an email. And as soon as you make that account, you can sign in and start sharing observations. And like I said, you'll get feedback from actual scientists who are using it, experts, and then just other iNaturalist users. So when you log on to iNaturalist, if you search City Nature Challenge 2021 Kamloops, we have a project page. You can join the project. There will be an option when you go to that page to join that project. This will essentially be a landing page during the BioBlitz and afterwards, where we will show and organize all of the data that was collected in Kamloops during the BioBlitz. So it'll be a really cool location to go to and sort of see how much data we were able to collect during the City Nature Challenge. So your observations, as I said, you'll need to make an iNaturalist account, and please only post stuff that you've personally observed. As I said, and we'll go into this as I sort of get into the tutorial, we want to record where you saw it, what you saw, when you saw it, and evidence of what you saw. So if you're doing this on a smartphone, it will automatically, if you're uploading a photo from your phone, it will automatically fill in where you saw it, when you saw it. What you saw, iNaturalist actually has some really cool technology. So if you upload a photo, it will actually give you some suggestions on what it thinks that species might be based on an artificial intelligence scan of that photo. You can also upload sounds. If you're an avid birder and you want to record calls, you can also just upload sounds and people can verify, what they think you heard, which is a pretty cool feature. So making useful observations, obviously you want to take really identifiable photos. You want to take multiple photos. So take close-up photos, take a further away photo. Be aware that if you're taking pictures of plants, you do want to really try and get up close because from far away, it'll kind of blend into the background of the photo. Focus on wild organisms. It's totally fine to document cultivated stuff that you might see in the city, but really the focus of the City Nature Challenge is to understand how wild species are growing or living in and around our cities. So focus on wild organisms as much as you can. So more tips for taking photos. Focus on one species per photo. Definitely take multiple photos. Your observation that you upload to iNaturalist can have multiple photos, especially with smartphone. Definitely be conscious of blurry photographs. Sometimes the autofocus on a smartphone doesn't quite get it right the first time, so double check that. And then get close, especially for smaller organisms. So this is one of the coolest things about iNaturalist. I find this really cool for me, especially because although I really like going outside and hiking, I'm not super knowledgeable about genus or species of a lot of plants. So you don't actually need to know what you're documenting. And you really only need to identify to the finest level you're comfortable with. So as I said before, when you upload a photo, it will actually drop down this suggestion menu of what it thinks that species could be based off of a visual scan of that photo. So you can see in this example, it's suggesting a genus, but it's also suggesting top species. So in this situation, if you don't know a lot about this plant, you were just on a hike and you liked it, but you don't know anything about the species or the genus, you could just agree with this genus. You don't have to choose a specific species. And then other folks that are able to see your observation once they upload it will make suggestions about what species it is. And within the app, once there's a consensus reached or a majority consensus reached on what people think your species might be, then iNaturalist will automatically document it as that species. And you, of course, always have the ability to go into your account and change things afterwards. So making an observation from your iPhone or Android. So the app is really simple, very cleanly laid out. So it's generally fairly easy to follow. So you'll tap observe, which is a little camera icon. You can add one or more photos. You can either add them from a live camera or you can upload from your photo folder on your phone. Once you click on this what did you see field, it will pop up with that list of suggestions. And if you're offline, if you don't have any data, you can just type in a placeholder, and when you get home later and you've got internet, those suggestions will pop up. When you saw it should be added automatically. Where you saw it should be added automatically. The only reason it might not is you might just need to check your privacy settings. In terms of locations, generally it will give a fairly accurate location of the observation automatically. If you're uncomfortable with it, like it's in your backyard or something like that, and you're uncomfortable having the exact location, you can choose an option to have it under the geoprivacy, under the location, you can have it set as obscured, which will essentially just show a large radius area that the observation was taken in, but not a specific sort of GPS point. So that's always a possibility if you'd rather do that. Save your observation and then sync to the community. This will happen automatically as long as you've got internet and the app is set up to use data. If you don't want it to use data, you can definitely set that up. And then when you get home or you're around internet next time, you can upload from there. And you will also be able to set up your notifications so that when folks comment on your observation or affirm what you saw or actually think that maybe you saw something different, you can also be informed about that. So making an observation on the iNaturalist website, same sort of layout and really the same process. You'll go to the upload bar at the top of the screen and go through really those same exact steps. The only difference here really is that you need to enter on the calendar when the photo or when it was observed, and then you also need to geolocate it yourself because it won't be geolocating automatically. And one thing to note is that if you make an iNaturalist account, it will be synced between your mobile device and like your desktop. So you can upload from either one and it will upload to your account. So that's a benefit if you want to use both. So I'm just going to exit out of this and I'll show just quickly sort of a quick demonstration about how the website works. So I've just got our City Nature Challenge 2021 Kamloops page up right here. So once you sign in, you have your account, you'll be able to join this project. There will be an option. You don't see it on my screen because I'm the admin for this page. And if you scroll down, there's just some project requirements. Really, we're taking any and all observations as long as they're from April 30th to May 3rd. And we've got our little countdown here, so we're not that far away from the City Nature Challenge. You'll also notice that the boundaries for our City Nature Challenge this year are actually the entire Thompson-Nicola Regional District. We do want to try to focus as many observations as possible in and around Kamloops, but you're definitely more than welcome to post any observations from anywhere within the TNRD. Like I said, the more data, the better. It's really just a chance to document a lot of really good data for folks who need it out there. So I'm going to click up here at the top of the screen, upload. I just have a couple photos that I found on the internet. So I won't save this as a full observation, but this is just an example. So you'll notice that this, as soon as I dragged the photo, it started an observation for me. Now, if I want to add another photo to this observation, if I drag it out here, it will start a whole separate observation, which is not really what I want to do. I want to add this to the observation that I've already started. So drag it onto the previous photo. And now there's 2 photos in this observation. So this is where that artificial intelligence photo scanning technology comes in. So when I click on species name, give it a second, and you'll notice here that it will come up with all of these suggestions for what it thinks it is. Now I know for a fact, because what I searched was a golden eagle, that this is a golden eagle. But as I said before, if you don't feel comfortable, if this was just something that you saw, and you feel comfortable saying, yes, it's in this genus of eagles, but I don't know if it's a golden or an imperial or anything like that, you can absolutely just do the genus. Because I know the species, I'll click on this, it will add that. Date, we'll say that I saw it today. Location, so it'll come up with this map here. Up at the top, you can just search for kamloops. Click on that, it'll take you into the region. So this big red circle is sort of a way for you to give a range, be as specific as you want about the location that you saw it in. So let's say I saw this at MacArthur Island. I can use these little white dots on the edge to decrease the radius and kind of increase the accuracy. So I can zoom in on the map. So I will zoom in. I'll put it on MacArthur Island, and I can, because let's say I'm certain that I saw it over here at the western end of MacArthur Island, I can shrink the radius down of this circle and say, yeah, I'm pretty sure that's where I saw it. So I can update the observation. If you want to add any notes, that's always welcomed. If you saw it behaving in a certain way, or if it had a mate with it, or if it was nesting or anything like that, that's all really great information to add. This is what I was talking about before with the location. I could set this as obscured, and it would just give a very kind of general range, but I'm fine with the location being public. If it is a captive or cultivated species, make sure to check this box. Tags are really helpful just to sort things out. So I'll add eagles as a tag. I could add golden eagle as a tag, et cetera, et cetera. The more descriptive you can be in your observation, the more useful it will be when it comes to that analysis portion of all of the data for the City Nature Challenge. So be as descriptive as you'd like. Projects. So right now, because it's not the April 30th through May 3rd time window, if I search the City Nature Challenge Kamloops thing, it's not going to come up because it's not an active project right now. However, as soon as you join, sorry about that. As soon as you join iNaturalist and join the City Nature Challenge 2021 Kamloops page, during April 30th to May 3rd, you will be able to start typing, City Nature Challenge or even Kamloops into this field, and it will auto-populate and give you a suggestion of that City Nature Challenge Kamloops page. So you can add it to that, and that will just make sure that it goes directly to that page, and then we can have all of that data in one place. Fields, these are more specifically if you're like a professional or a scientist. There are more kind of specific fields in terms of research fields. So these aren't really applicable to most observers, but feel free to play around with those. So once I'm satisfied with the observation, I can submit one observation, it will save it. And if we give it a second here, hopefully my internet isn't too slow. But essentially, once this finishes, you will be able to go to your profile page. So as you can see here, I've got 2 observations. So you can check back on these observations, and people will basically verify what you've seen, or they might have a suggestion for a different species, and they can leave comments, they can do all sorts of stuff. So it's a really cool kind of way to be able to see what you've seen, and all of your observations will show up on so this is kind of your homepage where you can come and basically see what you've seen and see how other iNaturalist users have interacted with what you've seen. That's essentially the basics of adding something to iNaturalist via the web page. As I said, the process on a smartphone is very similar, and indeed doing it on a smartphone, it will autofill the time and the location for you. Welcome to our team. The Naturalist Club is super excited to be doing this year. Obviously, this situation with COVID is, it's making it a little more difficult to have these events. But this is kind of one of those rare events where we can actually still take part. It won't be, quite as fun because we can't all meet up and talk about what we've seen. But for now, it's a really great way to get outside and to help scientists record some really valuable data. If you have any questions at all about participating, you can get in touch with us at the Kamloops Naturalist Club. We have a Facebook page, we have a website. There are ample ways to contact us. And if you have any questions about using iNaturalist, there are tons of resources on the City Nature Challenge website or the iNaturalist app. When you sign up for your account, they'll actually send you an email that's got tons of links about how to use the app and sort of things that people have done with the app. But yeah, if you have any questions, feel free to get in touch with us at the Naturalist Club. And I appreciate you taking the time to watch this, and I do hope you'll take part in the City Nature Challenge. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Chris. That was awesome. I personally am very excited to go out and take a bunch of photos of birds, and I can't wait to see what everyone else ends up finding. Definitely. And I feel like the weather has turned perfect just in time for this as well.
Fingers crossed.
I wanted to thank everyone tonight for watching, and I want to wrap things up by telling you about a few upcoming events that we are going to have at the library. So May 4th to 8th is Geek Week. So Star Wars trivia, Dungeons and Dragons master training program, and Escape the Library. You can sign up for all of those on our website at tnrl.ca. Our next virtual author series is a Vancouver author named Robin Stevenson, and she's going to be discussing how to write and publish books for kids and teens. So check that out on May 20th. And as always, if you have any questions, please reach out to the library at questions@tnrd.ca or give us a call at 250-372-5145 or send us a message on Facebook. So it was great having you guys all tonight, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. Thank you.